Hello and welcome to Horror Obscura. On this video, we're going to be checking out two horror movies. Movies are going to be The Graveyard and Baseline Killer. So let's go ahead and get into the first video. Our first movie is the 2006 film The Graveyard. The film was directed by Michael Pfeiffer, who has a large catalog of films he produced and/or directed from a number of different genres. It was written by Michael Hurst, not to be confused with Michael Hurst, who was the writer and creator of the 2013 series Vikings. I don't recognize any of the cast, but I'm sure some of them will appear again on this channel. I have The Graveyard on DVD, and it's pretty basic. It has scene selection, comes with English or Spanish subtitles, as well as a number of trailers. The trailers are for H.P. Lovecraft's Beyond the Wall of Sleep, Maid of Honor, Minotaur, and BTK Killer. This is a movie I haven't seen before until I watched it for this channel. The film itself is your basic slasher. The story revolves around a group of friends who all meet up to help another friend who has just gotten out of prison on parole, and they head up to a secluded resort weekend for a getaway. All the tropes are there: the group of attractive friends, jump scares, a variety of deaths, the killer defying time and space, sex scenes, and some nudity. And of course, the twist ending, which, if you've been paying attention, shouldn't be that hard to figure out. The killer, when revealed, switches into like manic overacting mode. There isn't much more to say about the film, as it's a pretty by-the-book slasher movie. Regarding the characters themselves, most of them are simply there to be fodder for the killer, as none of them are really very well defined. And they fit pretty well into the category of slasher characters. So don't look for anything too original. Probably the most engaging character is Michelle, played by Lindsay Ballou, I believe is how it's pronounced. The story revolves around her character. With the reported $2 million budget, The Graveyard does have a decent look. The direction is competent, and I didn't see any in-your-face continuity errors, although I'm sure they do exist. I don't really recall any of the music, which may or may not be a good thing depending on your point of view. There was nothing annoying about it, but then there was nothing that really stood out either. It was just there. The generic plot and average acting, along with minimal character development, just drags the movie down and cancels out whatever pluses are gained from the production value. It's not currently available on any streaming service, so unless you have the DVD or access to it, you're not going to be able to see this film. Graveyard is rated R and is 83 minutes long and is presented in 2.0 Dolby Digital Stereo. At the time of posting, Graveyard had a 3.2 rating on IMDb with 899 ratings. I personally give this movie a rating of 3 stars for the reasons stated earlier. Now let's move on to our next film. The second movie is the 2008 film Baseline Killer. The film was inspired by a series of actual crimes in Arizona in 2005 and 2006. If you're interested in finding out more, look up Mark Goudot. The movie was written and directed by Uli Lamel. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And he has an extensive credit list to his name, including acting, directing, writing, and producing. Similar to The Graveyard, I don't recognize any of the cast, but I do know we'll be seeing some of them again in the future. Baseline Killer is pretty sparse when it comes to DVD extras on the copy I own. It has scene selection and a small photo gallery of stills, with a few of the deaths, but not all of them being featured. Honestly, I was kind of surprised there weren't any trailers, as this film is part of the Hollywood House of Horror production company. Like The Graveyard, I hadn't seen it until I watched it for this video. I think the best way to describe this movie would be to call it a short film with a lot of fluff. The story starts off with a woman being victimized. We then switch to a group of different women, including one in a very bad platinum blonde wig, all sitting around drinking wine and talking. One of the women is opening a new store, and they all get together for a small reunion. About a third of the way through the film, something finally happens. As they continue talking and drinking, the lights go out and the women start to disappear one by one and are found dead until we get to the last girl. As the film progresses, we find out meaningless backstories for the women, and the end tells what happened to characters we met in those meaningless backstories who had maybe a minute of screen time. One thing that did surprise me is that there was no nudity in this movie. It was pretty much tailor-made for it, but they decided not to do it for whatever reason. As for the characters, they're pretty much undefined fodder. We do learn a bit of history about a few of the women, like one is a writer, another a store owner, but for the most part they're generic characters who exist for the sole purpose of screaming and dying. And the killers are given no motivation. If that was the case in the real life events, I'm not sure, as I didn't research. It's not a spoiler to mention there are two killers, as this is revealed within the first few minutes and there's no surprise tied to the revelation. If you do have access to this movie, and it is available on Tubi by the way, and you want to play a fun drinking game, take a shot every time someone says bitches and hoes. Baseline Killer is a direct-to-video film and it looks every inch of it. The music is as annoying as it is repetitive, especially one piece. That is, if it can even be considered music. It's more like just noise. You'll grow to hate it after the first time you hear it, and it's repeated a number of times. They also make some use of public domain music as well. There's a lot of real odd editing, including random speed ups and fast camera switching, and not cutting the scene as quickly as it should have been in a few scenes. There are also a lot of reaction shots of the women for some reason. Based on the amount of gunfire we heard going off, there's remarkably little, if any, damage to the store. There are a number of continuity errors, and the most glaring one is toward the end as the girls are sitting on the stairs. You'll know when you see it. Whether the end scene is continuity or some kind of artistic decision is up for debate. It's available for rent or buy on Vudu, but I recommend saving the money. I did say it was available on Tubi, but that's incorrect. It's not. It's just on Vudu. So if you don't have access to it on DVD and you feel like wasting some money, go ahead and check out Vudu. Baseline Killer is rated R. It's 78 minutes long and is also presented in 2.0 Dolby Stereo. At the time of posting, Baseline Killer had a 2.0 rating on IMDb with 184 ratings. Shockingly, 12 people gave the movie a 10 rating. I suspect they may have been involved in the production somehow. My rating is 1 star, mainly because it's a subpar 10-minute short film with over an hour of padding. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, hit that like button down below. It really helps, and if you know someone who might enjoy it, please point them in this direction. Word of mouth is the best publicity. If you want to be alerted to when the next video drops, make sure to hit the subscribe and alert buttons. And be sure to check out my Patreon page, Cinema Obscura, where I'll be posting at least one bonus single movie episode per week. And you might as well stop by my sister channel, Cinema Obscura, where I'll be checking out a couple of non-horror films. The cool thing is, if you decide to join the Patreon, you'll get access to the bonus single movie reviews I do for both channels. Thanks again for checking out the video, and have the best day ever.